So the big question is this: how can we as legal support professionals find the clients that we really want, all while running a business and still finding time to get people served? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Michael Reed, the podcast server, and I want to welcome you to Process Server Daily. You can listen to a new episode each and every Monday morning on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you like to listen. Share this podcast with your friends and colleagues, and please leave us a review if you like what we're doing here. Let's give a big shout out to today's sponsor, PSD University. They have a special offer for all of today's listeners at the end of today's episode. Don't miss out. Okay, Server Nation, our guest today is the President, CEO, and top dog at Martinelli Investigations, Inc. Her company provides investigative services across the nation. Since 1993, her and her elite team have served over 35,000 papers. She is known as the subpoena queen across the nation. Her entrepreneurial spirit has given her the passion for teaching and marketing in the legal profession. Robin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Tell us a little bit about yourself, some stuff maybe that I didn't include in your intro, and how you got started in this industry.
I was a sheriff's deputy for Forsyth County and for Rockdale County in the state of Georgia. So as a sheriff's deputy, I was only making like $8 or $9 an hour, and I couldn't get my child support papers served. I was a single parent of a 4-year-old little boy. And so I hired a process server to get my son's father served. And I'm like, how much money do you make? And they're like, oh, I make about $10, $15, $30 a paper. I'm like, I think I can do that. So I opened up Coleman & Associates, named after my son and a family name. And then I started getting a lot of people asking me about, can you serve papers? Can you find people? So I'm like, hey, I think I could be a private investigator to help out my process serving business. So I always express to everybody that I am a private investigator to help my process serving business, which really helps a lot. In doing that, I coached baseball. I was the first female coach to coach baseball, my son, and I met my husband. His first wife is deceased. He's a police officer. He's a retired police officer now and a private investigator and process server. I adopted his girls, and my girls are police officers. My oldest child just became Police Officer of the Year. So we have 3 badges in the family. I'm an entrepreneur, and I love process serving and being a private investigator.
That's so cool. I think that's one of the things we definitely have in common is the entrepreneur spirit. It's something that is just the fire within inside you that you just can't extinguish. You just got to keep going.
Absolutely. I love being an entrepreneur woman. I love being in the South. I love my state. We have 159 counties. We have 1 million people that live in Fulton County and about 1 million people live in my county. So I just love the South, and I love being a Southern and a Southern Belle in the South District and being a process server PI here.
Very, very cool. So there's a reason why you're on, right? You've just been killing it. You just have all these different things going on. I'm just on YouTube seeing all the different TV news channels you've been on. You're doing something right. And I want to touch on that marketing aspect that I know you're really good at, because I think that's going to give my viewers just some major benefit. But first, I want to dive into your story. Your few main stories that kind of made up who you are, or at least the most educational ones, right? That make up your story. So tell us about the worst experience that you had working in the field. We're going to go to the best one and all the different things that you have going on, but take us to that moment of the worst experience that you had in working in this industry, in this profession.
Well, I had 2 experiences. The worst experience was I had set up to serve a roofing company, somebody that didn't put a roof on. So I had a ruse at my brother's house that we were going to put a roof on, and the roofer came. Even the TV station was there because he had really ripped off a lot of people. And as I served him, the paper went in the back of his truck. And he didn't turn around. So I went to go get the paper in the back of his truck, and he took off with me in the back of his truck. It was horrific. So I'm going down the road. Police officer comes by. I'm waving him down. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just had no idea that he would take off. And so Now I teach you don't get anywhere near a truck, a vehicle, nothing.
I can imagine that would be horrific.
Because it was a police report, and it's really funny because it's true. It's like really, really true. My husband thought it was hilarious. They called him. And so when I'm teaching, I'm like, here's the do's and the don'ts as don't get close in your safety. It just didn't occur to me that he would just take off in the truck. It just really did. And then I was scared. But we ended up fine. The second incident was I was filming with my phone, like filming, because in the state of Georgia, we're allowed to film everything, even undercover, as long as one party knows. So I was filming, and the lady actually took my phone and ran in the house. And I was mortified because my son had just graduated from Paris Island with the Marines, and I didn't have a chance to download everything. So I went in the house, which is a no-no, and chased to get my phone. And she threw it to her daughter. I had to chase the daughter down. I had to grab it. And then she wouldn't let me out of the home. So then I dialed 911. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. And she went home. So I finally got my phone back. And I teach on now, a phone can be replaced, hopefully, but, never to go in the house. So that's another experience. And then, I just teach everybody, look at, nothing is worth your body, your family, your physical being. If you're scared, you gotta listen to your gut. That's one thing. Listen to your instincts and your gut, because it's there. If you listen to your gut, you're like, the first I tell them, what was your first reaction? Not to knock on the door and go another day because it just looked odd and weird. It's okay, that's your gut. Listen to your gut. Observe everything. Look at the trash. Look in the mailbox. Look in the trash with the mailbox. Look in everything. Observe everything. Take pictures.
That's good. That's good. So I just want to follow up on a couple of those stories because those are really good, right? So on the first story, what happened? Did he realize you were in the back and stopped and said, "What are you doing?" Or how did that?
I think he really wanted to hurt me. He was upset. I think he really wanted to hurt me, and I don't know what would have happened. I mean, it just taught me so much that don't get anywhere near a vehicle. And I really think that if that police officer hadn't gone by and I was waving him down, I don't know if he'd have gotten on the highway. I don't know what would have happened.
Oh wow. And then for the lady with the phone, she just let you out when you called the police.
I elected not to prosecute her and her not to prosecute me, but obviously what should have happened is she would have took my phone and I would have gone down the street and dialed 911.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. But my gut told me she was going to destroy the phone, do something with the phone. So I never take a picture and not download it instantly now.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Now with the cloud, you can pretty much do it instantly. Okay, good. That's awesome. Those are some great stories. So what I take from your worst stories is basically, like you said, take the opportunity to think for a second before making those. Because I noticed both of those decisions that you're talking about were rash decisions, right? Like you're like, I gotta get the papers out of the truck, or I gotta get my phone back, right? And so I always tell my people, 7 seconds, and I'm sure that's what you teach. Take just a few seconds, few moments, just to think about what to do. Even in a split-second decision, you have a couple seconds. Think about it, 1, 2. You could think without having to react. So, that's what I take from that. What do you want Server Nation to take from your worst experience?
Well, technology has just soared. So you can actually buy a water bottle where you put a camera in, so that's less invasive. They don't know. You can actually buy a pin now. They're it's not invasive to them. So now technology has helped me go to the forefront to say I don't really need my phone anymore. I can have a smaller phone, an iPad, iPod, just put it right here. So technology has really helped a lot, and I think it's really made things a lot safer. That's true.
Okay, so tell me about your greatest experience. I'm sure you have a whole bunch of them, but take us to that moment, that greatest experience that you had working in the field, in the profession.
Well, I'm really excited to tell you this one, okay? So I was very hesitant to ever look for a mailbox, okay, for anything. I thought that was sacred ground until my police officer husband and everybody was looking through the mailbox. So as I'm teaching in Texas how to look through a mailbox, I have a mailbox, we're going through it, the crowd is going nuts. I mean, they're all standing up, they're kind of yelling, and they're just I'm teaching process serving with the mailbox, and they are losing it. So I stopped for a second and I breathed and I put my head down and I'm like, okay, this is going to get better. I don't know how. Thank God, Jessica Jester's mother was a expert postmaster, retired in Texas, literally stood up and came to the podium and said, everybody sit down. Let me tell you what you can and can't do and why. And I am a postmaster in Texas. And she just floored everybody. It was a moment that was just like, oh my gosh, I mean, this is being filmed and I can talk about it. And it was so as long as you don't mistreat, abuse, it was so resonating. And then within a week or two, I was on the stand with a paper and the judge says, Ms. Martinelli, I just need to know, did you go through the mail? Did you check it? I need to know that because before I sign this order for publication, I need to know if you went through the mail. I was like, yes, sir, I did. Let me tell you what I found in the mail. And this was my judge here. And I'm like, what if I wouldn't have went through the mail? So that was just very exciting and wonderful that it all just tied in. Everybody learned. I didn't get upset. They kind of felt a little bad. And they said they were sorry. But, I mean, it was such a teaching moment and such a wonderful moment. And then there's been 2 other occasions where, my daughter was the youngest PI in the world in 2006. And we got to travel and go to California. And it was just really, really great. And the big heading of the newspaper is said, minor doesn't serve French fries, serves papers. So it was the front of the page of the AJC. And I was looking, and I'm like, no, she's on the front page. So I'm like, oh my goodness, she's on the front page of the AJC. So Oprah was calling, Montel called, Geraldo. We did all of that. It was a lot of fun.
That is so cool. And that's your daughter?
Yes, my oldest daughter, Christy Martinelli, that is now a police officer, and she is now, she was given the award of Police Officer of the Year at the elementary school and middle school. She stopped a shooter, and I didn't know any of this, and they talked about it. So it's on my Facebook and everything. You see how she got the award. But yes, I'm very proud of mine.
Yeah, that is so cool. So I want to touch on the story about the mailbox. So traditional thought is that you can't touch it. You can't even look in. I mean, you can look in the mailbox, but if you don't touch it, that's the traditional process serving thought. And you're saying that we can't. Do you want to give some more details about that, or should we follow up on that?
No, I can talk to you about it. I would have brought a mailbox, so we can follow up on the mailbox. No, you can actually videotape inside the mailbox. You can open the mailbox. You can videotape. You can bring the mail out. You can look at the mail. I even actually spread it out on the driveway and take a picture. So long as you don't mistreat, abuse, malicious, plus you don't have intent. You need to check the mail because you need to have you have intent to be on the property. You're not intending to create an act. Now, I do hesitate with people that there are now cameras and police officers. You have to be mindful. I wouldn't do this at 3:00 on a Friday. So I tell people, please be mindful of your jurisdiction. But when they have been called and they're looking for the law, there's nothing that says that you can't. And the reason why I'm so adamant about it is you could be asked by a judge, did you do that for publication? Did you go through the trash? Did you go through the mailbox? Did you go through? Now, some mailboxes are asphyxiated to people's houses and businesses. I'm not talking about trying to pry that open. I'm mainly talking about the residential mailboxes.
Right.
So I do it all the time now. Every time the police have not been called, I've not gotten in trouble, and the exact opposite has happened, is that I totally have been asked by judges, and I put it in my affidavit for publication. Sometimes when you look through the mail, you're able to find out other people that live there and other names. Maybe your person's going by a different name. Maybe the mailbox is vacant and they totally don't live there. This is all evidence to help with your publication.
Good.
So, but it's up to the person. Some people won't drive in a driveway. Some people won't go around to the side of the house. I mean, it is your comfort level of your jurisdiction of what you feel okay to do for you and where you live and your surroundings and your police department and sheriff's department.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, what I take from that, your stories and work, go out and work with a passion. Go out and do your thing and accomplish things. And you've been such a great example to your daughters, and your daughter just is like killing it now. And so it's really cool to see. And so, what do you want Server Nation to take from your greatest experiences working in the field?
Well, also, so from some of my experiences, call the person. I mean, it's come down to when you're doing publication and you're serving a paper, last resort, call them. Hey, Sarah, I've got this paper for you. I mean, sometimes they go, okay, as long as you don't embarrass me at my office or my house, I'll meet you at the coffee shop down the street. That is the last thing I do. And I actually email them too, and I actually do it on social media too. So, but what I want everybody to take from this is a passion, and I have a passion. So always when you put that intent in there and you're excited and you want that passion, it really shows.
Robin, what are you working on right now that you are most fired up, you're most excited about?
I'm working on a book.
Oh.
I'm working on a book because you inspired me.
I did.
Yes, you did. You inspired me. You inspired me for the book because when you ask these questions, I started asking my staff, and they're like, you remember this? And do you remember what we did with this? To the point where I don't want to keep all my education teaching experiences in. I'm ready now to give it out and say, hey, this is what happened with this paper. This is what, so the inspiration of you and the inspiration of social media, Mike Kern, I really, as a female, I want to write a book, and so we're writing a book.
I think your book is going to be killer. We should work together on your publishing it. I've learned some really cool techniques for marketing it. I know you're a marketing phenom, but there's a couple cool things you can do with Amazon to really just make it explode. So good stuff. I'm excited to hear that. So Server Nation, Robin has been dropping some major value bombs on us today, but prepare yourself because we're heading into the rapid fire round where we're going to take some questions from the Inner Circle Mastermind members, and we're also going to hear from our sponsor real quick, so don't go anywhere. Our sponsor today is one of my own making. PSD University started when I realized there was a void in online training for the legal industry across the country. As I interviewed some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, I found that many of them were more than willing to share this knowledge with others. A foundational principle of PSD University is building a strong network. Using the mastermind principle, we have taken networking to the next level. Right now, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial of the PSD Mastermind group. After that, it's just $39.95 a month. You and other legal professionals from all over the country can collaborate to grow your network and knowledge. We meet every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I hope to see you there. That's psduniversity.com. Okay, Server Nation, welcome back to the show. Robin, are you ready for the rapid fire round?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, awesome. What is your favorite skip trace tactic? I know there's going to be a lot, but your favorite one?
My favorite is just smiling and being nice. When you smile and be nice when you're serving a paper, it's like people change. And you call them by their first name. So you get their attention. So it's like they kind of stop and they're like, okay, this person's interested in me. And a lot of times I'll say, I have a check I need to deliver. So
for process serving, your thing is more like pretext a little bit.
The pretexting really helps a lot. And I just find if you're not aggressive and you're not, forward, sometimes they're very accommodative when you're serving the papers.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, and how do you track your cases? Do you have a case management software?
I use TrackOps. A lot of people don't use TrackOps, but I use TrackOps because it's a great private investigation tool for the cases and the film. But now I use it for my papers because it tracks the videos, it tracks the audio. So TrackOps Ian owns TrackOps. It's been around for a long time, but now it's gotten really competitive with the other servers, the other software. So I really like TrackOps a lot. I mean, they've never lost any information. They've never, I know it goes in servers. They've never lost anything. They've never been down ever either. In 15 years.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I haven't really researched all the different private investigation softwares, but I know that they also offer process serving capabilities. So that's pretty cool. TrackOps. Okay. All right. And then what book would you recommend?
Everywhere I go, I get a newspaper, and I read the newspaper and what's going on that day in every jurisdiction. So I'm not really a big book reader. I like the newspaper, so I would read the newspaper, anything up and coming in the jurisdiction I'm at. So it probably wouldn't be a book, it would be the newspaper.
So there's a few other questions on here before we wrap it up here, but I'm curious, what do you use for defense?
I mean, I do carry a gun in my car, but as far as defense, I use all my recording devices. To me, I'm not going to be aggressive. To me, being a woman really lessens. And I think a woman is very successful in my industry. So if I'm going to walk to a door different than a man and I'm dressed differently, it's going to be the level of fear, in my opinion, is going to be lower. So in my opinion, I have my keys, but I don't really carry mace or anything. I just have my audio and video recording as a defense. If they say something or they want to say I'm impersonating a police officer, which is a big thing here because I'm married to one, stuff like that. So my biggest defense is all the recording devices. And I like to never go in the house, even if they want to invite me in, and stay a little bit far away from the door. And then I have my car going, and it's not in the driveway. It's like out front. And I never, I lock my car, but I always keep my keys in my hand.
Are there cases that you're just like, yeah, I'm not going to take that?
Cases meaning private investigation cases and papers?
Yeah.
I guess a lot of different languages. Like if there's a Spanish paper or a different language paper that my staff cannot explain, international language paper, if I don't have an interpreter, I might turn that paper down. I do serve the prisons a lot and the jails, so there's no problem there. There's really not like a whole lot I won't take. Obviously I'm a little expensive, so a lot of Florida papers. I won't take a lot of Florida papers. People in Florida serve papers for $5 and $10 and $20 and $30, and when they come up the Georgia line, we're like 75 to 175. So a lot of Florida papers. The Florida industry hasn't come up to Georgia of how much to charge. So there's a lot of papers in Florida I won't take.
Okay.
That's not saying process servers, I've just tried to teach each place I've gone to. The first thing I tell them is, what do y'all make? Like Texas, Alabama, California, what do y'all make today? And they're like, oh, we make such and such. So I'm giving you a raise today. Days today, I'm giving everybody a raise. So everybody across the board, if you start charging 20, 25 more paper, let's have a raise today. And they're all like, and then I'll start coming up with their prices because of the industry, making more. They're worth more.
So I have a couple of questions. They have a lot of questions coming in over there. But I want to ask some of the questions that I have that I think you are going to be on point for, okay? Marketing. How do you take it from just your general, Google, right? Facebook, right? Because I feel like I'm pretty good at that. How do you take it to that next level where the news station, because you've done a really good job at that. How do you take it to that level?
Well, I teach in the very beginning, nobody knows who is a good process server private investigator. So if you have your business card with you 24/7, I don't care what kind of card it is, you give it to the Waffle House waitress, you give it to the judge, you give that card to everybody. You don't know when they're going to need a process server or a PI. You don't just go to Walmart or Kmart or Sam's and find a process server or a private investigator. You give everybody your card. In doing that, I had a client the other day that came in that had just ate at Crystal's and said they'd ran into a police officer that knew about my firm, and they're like, Robin's pretty effective. I don't even know who this person is. So in the room, give your card out. But the reason why I think you can go from a level of marketing, because any TV is good marketing, is that you establish a relationship with a reporter. Okay, a reporter. You physically work hard on either serving a paper or a private investigation, and you call that reporter. You make an appointment. You go see them. You sit them down. You say, I have cases. I have information. Some cases, you don't want your name mentioned that it's a case on the TV. Some, you're part of it. So you get interviewed, and you're part of the case. And some people are like, well, I didn't even know that was a scam. So, wow. And so it's a new story that they have, and then they pitch it to their producers, so then you start to know the producers. Now, some cases, they're like, well, we don't need that. And then sometimes you have a great case and there's a shooting that day. And like, they're like, we can't do your story, Robin. There's like, okay, I mean, no problem. So you start building I never thought that Wayne Williams ever killed all those kids in my city. I never did. So I've been working really hard on the Wayne Williams, and it's been followed up and followed up. So that's a big story. So some stories are immediate. Hey, this just happened. Missing person, missing dog, missing parrot. I just got a case I just served for AT&T about a lady that was raped with AT&T, and it's a lawsuit. So the world doesn't know about it yet. So it's like, wow, that's pretty big news. So you take that case to the reporter, and you start that relationship with all of them. You get their cell phone number, and it's quick. I mean, they got like deadlines. It's got to be 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So you meet them, you run to them. So all of that just produces contacts.
Okay, so basically, I think that what we're talking about here a little bit, my perception here is that you're building a brand, right? You have this brand, Martinelli Investigations, and you're handing out your card to everyone, like everyone in your town, right? What about like, it seems like that's more of the local marketing, right? Because if you try to go out further, how does that happen?
I'm still giving out my same card to everybody. Texas and Alabama or Mississippi, they may have a story out there. I'm very politically motivated. I do a lot of political investigations, a lot, and we won't discuss the party, but I do a lot of political and background investigations, so that gets out. So yeah, I give people my card on the plane. Everywhere I go, I just like, hey, this one. They're like, wow, that's interesting. That's kind of cool. And they talk to you and they put it away. And so sometimes you get these referrals like, hey, I need to find somebody or do a paper. Like, I met this girl on a plane and let me get her card. And Martinelli, it's Italian. It's northern. It's not southern. So they're like, hey, somebody there. Because, as Southerners, we get kind of, we're not really hillbillies, okay? But we get like a brand of like, Jeff Foxworthy, and that's all over my Facebook as far as, Southern terms. So in doing that, I get a lot of northern people that will call me because it's an Italian name.
Okay.
We won't discuss it if some of the family was in the mafia. I don't know,
Yeah, forget about it, right? Good stuff.
I don't know.
Good stuff. So one of the things when it comes to marketing is like you're handing out all these cards, you got really good brand, right? And then you get the news anchors and people like that you establish these relationships with. So again, some of those main principles that I teach my people is like, your network is your net worth. And it's like, it just keeps ringing true with everything that I learned. So it's really cool to hear all of that. Let's go. This last question is a doozy, but before I go to it, I want to ask you, what is the greatest advice you've ever received?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. The greatest advice I have ever received was from, I was selling copiers. At the time, I didn't know I was pregnant, but I was selling copiers, and I had a boss that came up to me, and she said, I'm going to give you a suit. And I said, why? And she said, because everywhere you go and when you sell and things that you do, you need to have a suit. And she gave me a blue polyester now, suit that came down to my knees, past my knees. And she said, wherever you go, you can wear this suit and know that people are watching you. And I never forgot that. And like 6 months later, she passed away of cancer. But as a strong woman, she said, I just think there's going to be some big things for you. I know you're just 20 years old. And then she told me I was pregnant. I'm like, what do you mean I'm pregnant? She said, yeah, you're pregnant. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I was pregnant. So it was a big surprise. And I had my son like 4 months later on Thanksgiving Day. And I just never forgot the value of an elder person teaching you. And I always absorbed that. I always sat around the table when I was little to listen to the adults. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur no matter what. I was going to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know what I was going to be doing. I mean, I think process serving and PI kind of chose me because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I've always wanted to pull that marketing and give that back and give back. And I want to because it just likes filling up. My cup is full. I'd like to share my cup to everybody and even my mistakes, and the optimization, what you can do there, and the branding. You got 3 brandings you have to do. You have to brand yourself, You have to brand on the screen technology first, because that's the first thing they see now. It's no longer, I'm going to call you. You have to have a great house, the best you can, technology, and then first impressions. So you have to do the best that you can do. So the 3 houses, if you can get that and understand it's there forever, it just really helps the marketing. So that was a great experience.
That is great. That is great advice. So what I take from your greatest advice is basically learn from your elders and respect them, and basically take the opportunity to look at your own situation and self-evaluate where you are so that you can know where you're going to go. And I think you've done that really well.
And these pins help too. Pins, this is like a 60-cent pin. And it is the best pin. I give them everywhere I go. So, because they hold on to it. You want to give a marketing tool that somebody can keep for a while.
Right.
So it works really well. I mean, any marketing tools, the things that go back on your cell phones, cards, any marketing that you can give to them that they keep for a long time, that really helps too.
Yeah. A good question that I see in here, just the last of the Facebook questions here. For private investigation cases, do you vet your clients? Do you ever drop clients for unethical behaviors or something they did that fell outside of your bounds, your rules for your cases?
Dealing with private investigation, I have that down to a process and a science. Jimmy Mises is a very good private investigator, and I bought his contract. And so it's like a 32-page contract, okay? And it takes 2 hours for us to go through this contract. And I physically tell people, you're not going to interfere with my investigation. You're hiring me for my experience. You can't text me 200 times. Don't date your husband while I'm trying to investigate. If I call you, blocked and private is really important. We need to talk. And I send my clients out of town. Like, go out of town. So if the cat's away, the mice may play. Go out of town. And I tell them to release that control, that anxious, that they're hiring me to do a service. Release and surrender the control and go take care of you. Go get a hobby. Go get go get some coffee. Go read a book. So just worry about you, which sometimes even makes their marriage better. Just worry about you. Don't worry about my job. You just bought a truck. Let me drive. And I know this sounds different, but everything my client tells me to do, I do the total opposite. He's going to go to church. Oh, he's going to call at this time. Oh, he's going to go to work. Oh, he will never have his girlfriend at the house when I'm out of town. Never, 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 never. But she rides a bicycle and sneaks in the back, and there's her bicycle, and mother's upstairs, but still, so I do, because what they were doing didn't work. And I used to do everything they told me to do and go through, a $2,000 retainer in a minute. And I'm like, okay, now we're going to do hourly. Okay, so it works. And then you listen to your gut. Right when they walk through the door, I know if they're going to stay married, separate. You just, with your experience, you have it. We all have that sixth sense to go, I don't really know if that's going to work. We have that. So we have to listen to it.
And so when somebody comes in and you're going through this contract with them, before you ever do a contract with them, do you look into them? Because one of my fears is that someone's going to come to me and have malicious purposes, right? And so as a process server, I always want the paperwork to see if it's even a valid case. But is there a way that you found a way that is best for vetting clients?
Yes, I do. I tell them, people that really want to hire you for a lot of papers, or you've met them, I need to meet you once. I need you to come through the door and sit down, or I come meet you. We need to talk. And then I will pull all their paperwork before they get there to see if there's a TPO, a restraining order, because I have to tell my client, we have to have clean hands. So if you have a criminal act and you've done something wrong, I don't want to be sitting in the courtroom and the attorney turn around and look and go, you didn't tell me about the 4 DUIs? That would have helped. So, or my client's having an affair. So we have to level the playing field. So I tell them, they have to tell me everything, and I'm going to look into everything. And they sign that. They sign the liability away. They sign it over and over. And I even film that they're signing it. Okay, so that really helps. I do that. And there's a famous case that I tell them about. It's called Blue Moon Investigation. Back about, maybe 8-9 years ago, somebody hired a private investigator to film a doctor, female, and she had the person's daughter there. And all of a sudden they come out of a hotel and she runs over them several times in front of the child. And the private investigator said, this is where they're at, everything. Yeah. No, I don't give out any information. I don't give a minute by minute. This is what they're doing. No, because you don't know what they're filming. You don't know what you have until you come back. So I tell them, look, I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to tell you everything. You're going to come in today. In 2 weeks, you're going to come back in. We're going to talk about this. So I don't do that because that's just putting them on a roller coaster, and it just doesn't work.
I always tell people who call and they go, this is what you need to do. You need to be here at this time. Well, the fee automatically doubles, Okay, well, if you want me to stake it out, great. It would be $75 an hour and we'll hit it up and we'll just sit on it, and so that's good. That's good to know. So this.
Why are you charging $75 an hour? You don't think you're worth about $95?
Well, I send someone else to sit on it for $45 an hour. See.
I know, but try 95. Next time somebody calls you, say my prices have gone up. I just got myself a raise. It's 95, and I bet you they'll pay it. I bet you. Make a bet.
You make a bet. All right.
And they'll say, okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna tell everyone Robin gave me a raise. Good stuff. Good stuff. So this last question, it's kind of a doozy. Okay. Some people. And I know that you're going to nail it. We've already kind of touched on some of the stuff, but what would you do if you woke up tomorrow with all of the skills and knowledge, but you didn't know anybody and only had $100, a smartphone, and a car? How would you regrow your awesome business to be the one it is today?
That was a difficult question. I would go straight to my local coffee shop or the local eatery because I know nobody. Because I can't call mom, I can't call my husband, I know nobody. So all I know is me, and to go sit at a table and just start talking to the locals. I know I have the $100, so I would go to the nearest coffee shop and get the newspaper too and talk to some people, educate myself right then. I would educate myself, and I probably would spend the money on a little bit of food and stuff, but I would hold some of it back for marketing of maybe a website at some point in time if I'm going to I'd at least try to get out on the technology arena so they can see that house, because they're not seeing me first. I need to see that house first. So I'd spend a little money there.
That's good. Yeah, I think your business card idea is something I don't utilize enough because people see you, for example, you go into a restaurant and somebody sees you and they're like, oh, they just look at you and they're like, you're somebody eating here. But when you come in and your waiter gets a card from you, right? And everyone gets a card. If you are going to shake a hand with anyone, they should get a card. I think maybe that'd be a good rule. If you're shaking their hand, they should be getting your card. And then everywhere you go, people are going to know. I love that idea. I think a lot of people just look at me as the scoutmaster, because that's what I was in that little arena, or the, I don't know, the delivery guy back when I used to do that,
Well, the hotel, you go to hotels, give the hotel clerk, the cleaning lady, it immediately starts hey, I'm a private investigator, process server, I want to give you my card. It immediately starts a conversation because they're just fascinated. They're like, wow, that's kind of cool. And what kind of papers do you serve? So people never go, I don't want your card. I don't need your card. They don't do that. It's an engaging time. Now I'm not going to just walk up to a stranger sometimes, but if I'm at a bus stop, if I'm on a train, if I'm at the airport, I'm sitting beside somebody and, the news comes on, it's like, oh, our president's doing great things. And I don't know if I'll be sitting beside a Democrat. If I am, I'll be like, okay, no problem. But here's my card if you need me.
We're running out of time here. I really want to touch on something that I almost forgot about. I'm glad I remembered. Being a process server, the value of becoming a private investigator on top of that. I know you're a great one to talk about that.
Okay. I have told every single person on my process serving teachings and seminars and public speaking, is that you pay other people for your skip traces. Even sometimes you could get in trouble because you don't have the license for some of that gray area of skip traces. So you're given or you're giving that job away. I can't find that person, so here. So that's just money out the door. Okay. In your state, it's always a procedure. In my state, you have to be 2 years working for a PI firm. Then you can open up your own. You have to take a course, fingerprints. So it's like $300 to $500. It takes about a month. Okay, well, you can do that. You can do that in your state, even if you have to work underneath somebody. Now, I spoke to you about California. I could never be a private investigator in California. I mean, the things you have to do are just astronomical. But you, Michael, living in California, you can actually get a private investigation license in Colorado because it's a one license. So there's places that you can do this. And in doing that, being a licensed private investigator in Colorado, Alabama, Georgia, you're able to get more from TLO, IRB. You're able to get big, different information. So as a private investigator, as my process serving business, I'm able to charge $200-$300 for a skip trace and go serve that paper. And sometimes I can do it right then. I'm like, okay, do you authorize this? Okay, I'm going to go right over there. Because I'm asking. There's a fine line, a really fine line between a private investigator and process serving going from, hey, can you give me information about this? Can you give me information about that? Well, if it's not public knowledge, you're stepping into being a private investigator.
Right.
Okay, always that gray line. And I've arrested a person that impersonated a private investigator, didn't have a license, that attacked me on social media. I'm like, we're not having this. So I actually took the warrant out myself because the jurisdiction didn't have time. And it's turned into a lot of felonies, and the TV was there of the TV program, but they all filmed it, so that was free advertisement. In doing that, it just really helps to be a private investigator and have your license and a process server, and it also helps a private investigator to be a process server. So to me, it comes hand in hand. It's not a goal that somebody wants to do. I just feel like sometimes you're giving that money away. And you don't have to go surveillance. You don't have to go do cheating spouses, put trackers on criminal cases like I do. I really enjoy that, and it made me money. So my investigation kind of morphed a whole lot where there was a lot of money right here, and private process serving is fine too. Plus, it's an all-stop shop. Your client can say, hey, can I do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? So they don't have to separate the industry.
Very cool. Very cool. So I think that's a very big, we have these conversations all the time. Like, how can you position yourself in the market to be able to, advance your business? I mean, how many times did someone come to your website or maybe look at your brand and decide like, hey, do I want to send them my 1,000 cases next year? Well, I need someone that can also testify in court on specific cases. And in California, if you're not a private investigator, you're not a special witness. You can't testify as a special witness. So it definitely helps to become a private investigator. So I appreciate your comments on that. Before we wrap it up here, what is your parting piece of advice for Server Nation? The servers out there, maybe the server that might be struggling a little bit, they're wondering, is this even for me? Process serving, I love process serving, but I'm just not getting enough work. What would you say? What is your parting piece of advice?
Well, there's a particular group that's really going to like me to say this. Serve Now, NAPS, that is a small amount of money that is great for good income to start coming in. And I did that. I joined NAPS when I was very young. I did Serve Now a long time ago. But in doing that, it can bring instant income in. And then I suggest to people to start guest speaking. Send out your resume, send out your CV, send out your credentials to schools. I teach at some schools and just public speaking as far as process serving. Make your world bigger. If you go speak to a 7th grade class or an 8th grade class and you speak to the criminal justice class or even the entrepreneurial class, they're going to go home and tell mom and dad, So, I do that a lot. I give back to the community a lot, and it just spreads the word, and they're fascinating. And if you don't even know how to public speak, and you go to an entrepreneur class in a high school and say, hey, this is how I started this, and this, just alone being, what's process serving? What's PI? I didn't even know, I want a 5th grader to turn around, male or female, any ethnicity and place and go, you know what? That's kind of cool. I'd like to be a process server when I grow up. Or I'd like to be a PI and open up their world just like being a doctor and a lawyer and a police officer.
That's good. Robin, what is the best way that we can connect with you and then say goodbye?
The best way you can connect with me is I do have a Facebook. I do have Instagram, but I do a lot of Facebook Live too. I really enjoy that. But, you can text me, email me. I've had the same telephone number. That's another thing. Always answer your phone. But I've had the same telephone number since 1993. So actually that one phone number, I forward it to the office or wherever I am. So a lot of times you can get me. But the best way to get a hold of me is by my telephone, 770-337-3999. And then my website is www.martinelliinvestigations.com. Martinelli ends in an I, investigation starts with an I, so it's 2 I's with S on the end. And my email address is MII and then Georgia spelled out, PI@gmail.com.
That's good. And we're going to have all that in the show notes too, so people can go to processserverdaily.com/Robin, and you guys can see all that information as well. Let's see here. So, Robin, I want to personally thank you for being on the show. I've been impressed with your story, and I'm excited to share it with the world. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for helping and open up my world to hopefully helping with this book. And I appreciate you doing such a great job. And I'm sorry that we haven't connected before now, but I'm really excited. And anytime you want to have me on, just call.
I will do. Until next time, Server Nation, you've been served up some awesomeness by the Subpoena Queen and Mighty Mike, the podcast server. Server Nation, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Don't forget to visit psduniversity.com and claim your 30-day free trial of the PSD Mastermind membership. That's psduniversity.com. Thank you so much for listening today, and please don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family. And if you like what we're doing, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review. Until next time, Server Nation, stay safe out there.